Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 2 of A Man's Crazy Inane Ramblings. This is being recorded at 1:32 a.m. on February 8th, 2024. It's a Thursday, and, I think all of these are unscripted. I don't want to write scripts for these because I feel like that's going to detract a bit from kind of the experience of me kind of just talking into a microphone, shooting the shit with you, chilling out, trying to be a bro, all that. So I think this time around, I kind of want to talk about. I think this time I want to talk about the way the tech industry as a whole is going. Because I'm seeing a bunch of stuff happen that I think is just completely stupid. I don't agree with it. And I think it's a really missed opportunity, and people are just too eager to make a quick buck. So, historical record purposes, the newest Apple product is the Apple Vision Pro, a VR headset. A very nice VR headset, admittedly, but a VR headset nonetheless. Nothing inherently wrong with that. Plays some good games. Got some infrastructure issues, but that's just because, it's new. There hasn't been really a whole lot developed for it yet. But it's still using Lightning connectors. Apple Lightning connectors are remnants of the early 2000s, late 90s-ish era when USB was slow as dirt. Lightning had its day. But that day has since long passed. USB-C is vastly faster now than Lightning is, but Apple is insisting on using Lightning for absolutely everything still. They recently got forced by the EU to swap over to USB-C. Or have to cut operations in the EU, which they were not about to lose that market. So, as it stands right now, the newer iPhones have to have USB-C on them. And I don't use anything Apple because I grew up on Windows. I grew up on Android. And I quite like having a cheap, reliable Android versus an expensive Apple that constantly tells me to take it into a repair shop if I want something basic like a battery. But more to a point. I kind of just wanted to rant for a bit on basic shit that seems to be disappearing from technology. For example, the headphone jack. A cylindrical port for a 3.5 millimeter plug that connects headphones to a device. And I'm saying it that way for historical purposes. I know you're probably sick of hearing me say historical purposes this, but I'm a historian by hobby. You don't like it, too bad. These are my ramblings, not yours. Get your own ramblings. You want them to be your way? You go record random nonsense on the internet. No, I'm fucking with you. The 3.5 millimeter audio jack is a feature that every phone up until a handful of years had. And what's really prompting me to do this recording is the fact of I've got a desktop rig right now without an audio jack in it. And I've got a tablet right now without an audio jack in it. And a phone without an audio jack in it. So all of these things I'm needing adapters for to convert over into 3.5 millimeter. And I've recently had two sets actually, of Bluetooth headphones that have both broken on me in the exact same time. And, I'm really starting to lose my patience with technology and the tech industry as it is. Because, it literally costs, I think, I'm trying to remember, someone did the math on it. It's like 8 cents to put an auxiliary jack into a phone versus the dollar or two it takes to put in Bluetooth circuitry and wire it into the battery through soldering. And I really wanted to rant about it because I am so sick of having to look for an adapter every time I want to use a pair of headphones that aren't Bluetooth, but yet everything needs Bluetooth now. Like, I'm gonna be listening back to this on a Bluetooth receiver, adapter thing that I bought off of Amazon a handful of years ago, but that's not the point. Like, I've got one, but, like, for example, my desktop doesn't have a Bluetooth card in it. It doesn't have a Bluetooth adapter, nothing. It has auxiliary, but the auxiliary doesn't work in it because it's outdated audio drivers. And the drivers for it, because it's an older motherboard, don't exist anymore. But I can get me a USB to aux adapter, which I've got, and that works fine up until, and here's the kicker, all of these adapters are made basically by the same people, or if not the same people, made the exact same way with the same blueprint, same schematics, the whole shebang. And I'm getting really sick and tired of basic shit disappearing from devices or technology, because the minute the battery starts messing up in something, it's useless. And I am so sick of having to worry about charging something every night to make sure I can use it tomorrow. And more than that, it's expensive. It gets really expensive. Like, Bluetooth headphones are stupid expensive. Even the cheapest ones out there can run you $50-$60. What was I going on about? Right, the aux jack. I'm sorry. Yeah. I've got a... What really triggered this rant is the adapter I've got. It's a USB-C, which is what my phone has because it lacks an aux jack, to auxiliary and USB-C adapter. So it's got the USB for charging and auxiliary for headphones at the same time. So you can charge and listen to music at the same time, or, listen to whatever. Thing is, that adapter's gone out. And it is no longer... I can still use it to do the aux all day long, but now the charging on it has seemed to go out, and I can no longer do both at the same time. I don't want to buy another adapter. I've gone through 3 of the damn things. 2 of them were a different pattern than this one. This one has been the only good one I've ever owned. And because of just how old it is now, it's getting to that point to where it's basically on its last legs. And I'm just so sick of Bluetooth everything. Like, more than anything else, I'm sick of not having the option to go to having an auxiliary connection. Because what happened a handful of years back is Apple decided with the iPhone, I think it was like the 12. Don't quote me on that. You'll have to do your own research and see which one it is, because I don't have my computer right here in front of me yet. But, it's like the iPhone 12 or whatever. Apple decided to get rid of the headphone jack in their phones to force people to buy the new, at the time new, Bluetooth AirPods. Their headphones, which cost you like $200 or $300 initially to buy back in the day. And, the industry completely followed suit. They just copied Apple, and not one phone, unless you want to go back to a flip phone, basically, is what you're having to look at. No phone has an auxiliary port in it anymore. It is Bluetooth only, or using a weird-ass adapter you got off of Amazon for $6 or $7, which adds up really damn quickly if you're constantly going through the damn things just through wear and tear, because they're not built for, they're not really built to the degree they need to be built to be used on a mobile device. But, I feel like it's really a damn mistake, the fact that we let some of the shit go on that does go on. You've got different things that happen in the tech industry, like microtransactions, which everyone hates, which unfortunately aren't illegal. You've got people putting ads everywhere, which isn't illegal. But then you start removing basic appliance features that make things more inconvenient to use than it's worth. Like the phone I'm using to record this on, I paid $1,000 for this phone. This is... I'm not going to describe what kind of phone it is, because I know way better than that, than to let anyone on the internet know even the slightest bit about, what I'm using to hack me, but um I'm using a smartphone that was considered Samsung's highest end phone at the time when I bought it. And it's the flagship phone. It's $1,000. It's got these fancy ass cameras in it. It's got this nice microphone in it. It's got all these fancy circuits and features and AI and all this. But it doesn't have a simple headphone jack that costs them like 8 cents to put in. And it's not like a headphone jack wouldn't fit. You could maneuver the headphone jack in there or just design the phone from day one to have a headphone jack. But they didn't. In the hopes that you'd buy their USB-C to auxiliary adapter, which they sell for like $15 on their website. And these companies get away with it because, there's no laws or anything restricting them from pulling bullshit like this. And I really wish there was. I wish there was a law that kept them from removing basic features from a phone or from their devices or from anything at all. Like, how long did cars have CD players in them? But nowadays, it's a fancy iPad instead of a radio with dials in it. Or what's even worse is AC and heating in your car is no longer a physical button. Now it's a touch screen. So now if that touch screen bricks for any reason, as in just stops working, you can't control basic functions on the car. Like I said, I'm just ranting here about the general direction of the tech industry because I think we are getting too reliant on wireless signals on. Now, I'm not against advancing technology. What I'm against is over relying on the newest advancements in it and just saying to hell with the old, toss the old out because it's old, quote unquote. In the words of one YouTuber, bring the headphone jack back, damn it. I'm getting real sick and tired of the way the tech industry is going. Because every time I turn around, I'm paying all this money for something, and they're taking less and less features, or they're putting less and less features into it, and then just jacking the price up. The newest Samsung phone, the S24 or whatever, now has AI in it as a default onboard feature. It's got its own native AI running the show to be able to let you do things with the pictures on your phone and videos and all that. And auto-translate, which the auto-translate is actually really cool. I like that. But the point is, they spent all this time and money developing or at least renting out an AI to put onto a phone, and the AI is the whole shtick of the phone. Like, that's the entire point of the phone is like, oh, it's got AI on it. And it's like $1,500, I believe. Last I saw was like $1,500 for it. They spent all this time to develop an AI, develop the phone for the AI, put all this tech into the phone, and that newest phone doesn't have a headphone jack in it. Every pair of headphones I've ever bought has an auxiliary jack on it. It has a headphone jack plug on it. And anytime I've needed a USB-C connector for it, I've had to go out and buy a separate cable to convert it to USB-C, or just buy an adapter to plug into the device to turn it into USB-C to auxiliary. Is it too much to ask that a basic feature, I'm paying you all this money, is it too much to ask that, I get the most basic of bare essentials? And then you've got people using smart screens in cars now. Like I said earlier, you got people in cars using smart screens now for everything. Or electric everything. I'll harp on electric cars in another episode probably, but as it stands right now, I'm going to leave that as is. But point is, for example, Teslas. There are thousands of Teslas now stuck on the side of the road in park because their batteries died because the charge got sapped out of them when it hit real cold here recently in the States. And you can't shift them into neutral because there's no physical gearbox to shift into neutral. It's all electronic sensors and inputs done through a fancy touchscreen. So if the car has no charge and it can't hold a charge because it's too cold outside, in the case of a Tesla, then, you know, you can't shift it in neutral. You can't put it on a truck to tow it back home. You can't throw it in neutral for the sake of pushing it. You can't steer it without the electrics. You can't do anything, especially in the case of a Tesla, because it's all drive-by-wire. It's not physical linkages anymore. It's all electronics and signals, and I hate to sound like a boomer. I really do. I'm going to be turning 21 in a handful of months. I'm not 60-something years old. But, you know, I think we are going way too quickly on adopting new technology and new methods of doing things just because it's the flashy, futuristic, cool-looking thing. You know? Like, I want nothing to do with an electric car. And I know I'd say I'd leave that for another episode, but I have a point that I'm going with this. I want nothing to do with an electric car. It's too much speed too quickly, so it's unstable as shit. There's no physical gearbox to throw it into neutral when something goes wrong. And, you know, you gotta worry about the temperature outside determining whether you can drive or not. Or, in some people's cases, the ability to get up your driveway, you know, against ice, because apparently electric cars have issues driving up ice at any sort of hill whatsoever. Because it's too much speed too quickly. There's no real, like, it's instant torque, but it's torque matched with its speed. So it's like it cancels each other out, so you can't get up onto an icy surface at all if you've got a driveway with even the slightest hill to it. Just, the tech industry is going way too hard on trying to be flashy and futuristic, and all this is to say, I think we're forgetting what made some of this technology good in the first place. We're too busy trying to innovate on it, too busy trying to make it better with AI, or with electric battery-powered cars, or with any of this other stuff. Like, I think we need to return to base. I think we're going too quickly into one direction where everything is wireless, everything is electric, and then when it inevitably breaks, the companies pull an Apple and say, "Oh, you know, we are not going to let you fix that because it's got our electrics, it's got our code, it's got all this other stuff in it that's specific to us, so we're not going to let you bring it to anyone other than us for the sake of repair. Because, you know, it's our copyright and trademark and all this other bullshit. So, you know, we've got legal say over who can mess with it versus who can't." But yeah, I had 2 pairs of Bluetooth headphones break on me, and now the only reliable analog thing I had to convert to headphones, instead of it being USB-C, is broken as well. Or at least it's going out, it seems. And that's kind of what's prompted this. And I think we're really forgetting that the whole point of advancing technology is not to abandon the old. Except when it is so severely outdated, it is no longer worth having. Like, nobody uses floppy disks anymore. Nobody who is serious about technology uses floppy disks anymore. Because they are impractical when better storage methods exist, such as thumb drives, or flash drives if you're Western. I think we've all forgotten that the point of advancing technology is to make things easier to use, to make things better, to make things more efficient. But is it really more efficient to get rid of an old feature like the aux jack in a device that just lets you plug your phone or plug your favorite headphones in directly to the device and let the device have a really good DAC in it to give you really good audio quality versus, putting USB-C on it and just saying to hell with the rest of it because, they'll just go and buy an adapter for it instead of, being able to take pride that you're keeping features around that people rely on. Or a car that is supposed to be an electric car, but, it's supposed to be better for the environment. It's supposed to get you a good range. It's meant to be good speed and instant torque. But it's so inconvenient. If even the slightest thing goes wrong in it, the car will brick itself and prevent you from driving it. Or it will just die. And because there's no physical gear shift anywhere, there's no physical gears for it to shift through, you have no way to load it up onto a truck. So is it really, is there really any point to advancing all this technology and putting all these fancy electronics and things and without having a redundancy in it in case the higher tech fails? Because nothing is fail-proof. Nothing is idiot-proof, as some people would like to think it is. Is it really worth abandoning what's worked? Like, I'm not talking about going back to floppy disks. But, let us keep hard drives around for a while longer yet. While we have SSDs now that work really good in computers, they are known to have thermal issues. They are known to have issues where they completely just grenade themselves and wipe all the data on them. Just because they're fancy computers. They don't, they're not foolproof. And the more, it essentially boils down to this. The more technology you rely on versus a physical analog connection, the more shit can go wrong, the quicker shit can go wrong, and the more often it's going to go wrong. Like, say what you will about carburetors and cars way back when, but at least, if your carburetor needed to be cleaned, you could just take the carburetor apart, clean it, put it back together, and you'd be good to go. If the battery in a Tesla dies, you're out multiple thousands of dollars. And I mean, like, dies as in, like, it will not hold a charge anymore because it's a battery that's that old. Then you're out multiple thousands of dollars on a car you already paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for. And I'm sure that shit's gonna stack up and get expensive real quick if people ain't careful. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass here. Maybe I'm just thinking backwards. Maybe I shouldn't be allowed to record my opinions at all. I don't know. But it seems to me like every time I turn around, something basic is being wiped away from everything in favor of the new-fashioned way of doing it. Like, I don't know. My refrigerator has a touchscreen on it to do literally anything on it. From selecting the ice to, putting just water in your cup. It's got a fancy touchscreen on it instead of just a button. My dishwasher is the exact same way. It's got a screen on it instead of just a physical button. And in my dishwasher's case, the touchscreen is broken, so I have to sit there and play with it for a while before it'll actually work. There's no redundancy. There's no backup in case it breaks. I don't know. Like I said, I think we've forgotten that, or better more than anything else, I think we need to take responsibility and, above all else, be responsible with what we're choosing to abandon in technology. What technology we're choosing to just throw away for the sake of making money or impressing people. Like, yeah, everyone's got Bluetooth headphones nowadays. But what about, the case of where they have Bluetooth headphones, but the headphones have just died on them and they need to swap to another set? But not everybody has a bunch of money to just throw out multiple sets of Bluetooth headphones. Not everyone has the money to have multiple sets of Bluetooth headphones at once that they can just swap between. A lot of us are still rocking cabled headphones happily, and I'd happily stay at cabled headphones. I think it's reckless the way the tech industry is going now. Especially when we're too eager to throw shit like AI into a phone when we know better. Like, as stupid as it sounds, the movie Terminators had a point. Or the movie Terminator. The Terminator movies. Okay, the Terminator movies. That's what I meant to say. All had a point. Especially in the case of AI, where it is getting more and more intelligent, more and more aware of, what it can do. We're going to reach a point where technology is going to screw us over one way or another, and there will be no going back. And above anything else, if something happens, like a natural disaster that wipes out the power to a place, and nobody's running a physical gas drinking car, then, or as I'd put it, an analog car, then everyone there is trapped if the power's out. If something happens and the drivers in every device across the world for USB-C in software updates just brick the USB-C port, there's no way to use it to transfer data. Maybe you could still charge your phone, but there's no way to transfer data on it versus having an auxiliary jack in it. There are devices like the iPod Shuffle or the later gen iPod Nanos that used the auxiliary jack as both charging and data transfer between computer and headphones and device. I think we just really need to think, is it really worth getting rid of all these analog ways of doing things so quickly for the sake of A or B? Because at the end of the day, the more things you have that can break, or the more complex a thing is, the more likely it is to break. So I don't know. I think it's stupid. In fact, we're just getting rid of things like the aux jack and gas cars and all this other, or not even gas cars, just fuel drinking cars in general. Like, if you want to run your car off of like old used cooking grease, fine. But you at least have the analog option when the digital option inevitably fails you. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stupid. But I've kept you long enough. I think that's going to be it for this episode. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.